when the plan goes to heck, it can really be an invitation. For me, it was an invitation
Yeah.
to start, first of all, to discover my own new path of, that it wasn't about getting to a certain net worth number by a certain age. It was about finding, like creating a life and work that I didn't want to retire from.
What if the best chapter of your life hasn't even begun yet? What lies within you is the power to live brighter, bolder, and truer than ever before. So welcome to Vivatude, where caregiving, connections, and career come into balance, and where your vitality, vision, and voice shines through. Because the revolution isn't out there, it's already within you. Welcome to Vivatude.
Welcome back to Vivatude. This is Kate Phillips. Once again, I'm here. This is part 2 with Tracy Cromwell. She is a health coach and a personal trainer, also my co-host here at Vivatude. And something that most of us, most of the hosts have had in common is that caregiving has touched our lives very directly in some way. In our previous session, Tracy so wisely talked about, in terms of health, that we've got to we've got to give ourselves grace, let ourselves off of judgment. And when it comes to finances, I want to borrow that same thought and say that releasing shame, just like we want to release guilt around, wherever we find ourselves on our health journey, we want to release the guilt and shame as well that we can experience around money, because there's so many shoulds. Things should go this way. You should go to school, get a good job, max out your 401k, and have $1.5 million to retire with ease at age 65 and never work again. Then there's real life. Tracy, tell us about real life as a caregiver, especially to your mom, who I think you've been helping her out for some time.
Yes. So I love my mom, number one.
Yes.
I love her. I love her. And as she has aged, she's gone through many surgeries and a lot of she has heart issue. I mean, it seems like she was in the middle of the bullseye and just everything hit on her. And so for many years have my siblings, and I am grateful that I have siblings, we have all stepped forward to help her in many ways. And most recently, probably I would say significantly in regard to her age. She's now 95, but let's go back 10 years. The caregiving has changed, and so going from, at least she was independent, but we would still need to be helping her in specific ways. But that transition from that to then the worrying about her every
Mm.
night. Is she strong enough? And then seeing the mental concept of her brain changing, what she was really remembering, not remembering, to the stress of trying to be, to get help. And then also the funds that my family have put out on our own to help cover all the gaps, the areas where
Mm.
she could not afford to pay for her, where she was living and things like that. And so very, very something that I was not prepared for was to be putting my money towards that. And then also at one point, putting my whole business on hold and not making any
Yes.
money because she was in a state where even though she had someone there part-time to care for her, I had to make sure her food was, dialed in, and I got her to the doctor, and I had to think far ahead of anything that could go on with her. And so it's very stressful situation. And one to try and navigate around is just, again, the income aspect that I was not afraid. I did not plan to lose income because of that. That wasn't in my plan. And then also just continuing to subsidize for her funds, which she doesn't have. My
Yes.
family is doing,
These
so
are two separate issues that impact
mhm,
so many caregivers. One is, I think the average, I mean, this was astonishing to me to hear, but the average caregiver is contributing about $7,000 per year, sometimes more, to their
easily.
parents, to help them, meet the bills, or, maybe purchasing medication or other things that they need. And so there is that aspect. And then there's also the aspect that caregivers, because of the time demands, the physical demands that we are, I mean, I was running a business and coaching and traveling. That's actually how I met Lauren, as I was, networking uh, and was building my business. It was a fairly new business. I had left real estate and was building a business through networking and through live events, and moved my father in with me. He could no longer live independently and had not prepared financially at all. I mean, I think the money
Mhm.
he had saved was probably gone by day two of hospitalization. There was kind of nothing left, and learned very quickly that I was in over my head, that I had to stay home and keep him out of trouble. I had like a young teenage daughter, and my father was way more trouble than my young teenage
I know, and
daughter.
and that's always there in your mind, is safety for your loved one, and all of those things, right? And so it just is, and that's a
Yes.
layer that I did not know was going to happen. I
I
just
know we don't plan for these things.
I
Now,
and we moved out here when I was 4, from
mm,
Ohio, and I didn't know my grandparents, and we never went back. And so all I've seen is my parents, and so and they never went back. And so I'm like, la la la, had no idea. So all of my siblings, and thankfully I have siblings, we're all like, oh, okay. So my biggest piece of
we've got to
advice,
pitch in.
probably needed to think about this. So,
Yeah, I mean, I describe my time caring for my father, just in terms of money, it was financial suicide. I mean, there's no other word for it, but because it was so disruptive. And, my father's been gone for a few years now, and I look back and I'm like, I did him right. I did him right as his daughter. And so we have competing priorities, and sometimes money, it's not always the most important, priority. Like, there's human needs to take care of. And I've been talking a lot. I'm actually in the middle of a training series right now around more money in retirement. And I say that a lot of us, but I think especially caregivers, we've got to adopt what I call this new retirement paradigm. That a lot of us, like, there was the plan, and the plan was, to save so much and invest so much every year and to earn a certain amount. And then the plan gets blown up by reality. And then we get creative. And getting creative might mean working longer. It might mean you've got to stay healthy for sure, because we've got to have our mind sharp and our bodies active longer, and not working longer in a, oh, I really wanted to retire sooner, but now I've got to work this job that I hate because, I can't afford to leave. And so you've done something, I've done something as well, very similar, where like you leave, or you adopt a new career that, because you used to be in construction, but you've also
Yeah,
gone
residential construction, building houses. I
and you
remember that downturn in '08. I was impacted by that.
yes.
That's the other thing. recovering from that, right? So go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you still do some construction, but you
Yeah.
also are doing work that I've heard you say you'd like to do this personal training, this health coaching personal training work for as long as you can because you just
Absolutely.
love it. Like it brings meaning into your life.
Yeah.
So share a little more if you would about the career change and also the trajectory that you're on now. You're kind of doing all the stuff right now.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I had left the construction, and I keep trying to leave the industry, but it's just part of
Almost
me, I
leaving.
think. I will, and it's crazy enough, and blessed that it's something that I can still help with, and I know how to do. And but when the housing turn happened, the housing crisis happened in '08 is when I started thinking maybe there was something different for me to do.
Mm.
So that's when I started going back to school and all of that, and decided to get certified through as health coach because I was like, oh my gosh, I went through this journey. How can I help other
Hmm.
people? And then as a health coach, people were like, well, how do you stay fit? Well, I guess, technically I'm not allowed to tell someone unless I'm certified. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll add this on. And it was something I've always loved fitness and I've always wanted to be athletic. And so for me, not only I love helping people feel stronger in their body, and also I realize too, as a carer, I know it helps me when I'm working with my mom. I feel more confident that I can support her physically, you know, and so yes, so my plan is that to keep me healthy and to keep my brain active and constantly learning. I will probably, I want to train people as long as I can. And I figure, you can go out on Google, on YouTube, and find so many incredible senior citizens. They are not your typical senior citizen of the past when you're 50 years old
Yes.
in a rocking chair, they are out hiking, they are lifting, they are they are building muscle. They are out living life in a vibrant way. And so that's I figure I will always probably I'm going to always have clients and I'll always have some kind of online program and that's going to be my little supplement, not only for my finances, but also just good for my brain and my body. So, yeah.
I love that. And so, yeah, when the plan goes to heck, it can really be an invitation. For me, it was an invitation
Yep.
to start, first of all, to discover my own new path of, that it wasn't about getting to a certain net worth number by a certain age. It was about finding, like, creating a life and work that I didn't want to retire from. and and then sharing that with others because I think when we can have a new vision of what life could be and instead of living in maybe disappointment or shame because life and finances didn't go as planned, there can be these amazing opportunities for us.
Mhm.
And I also love what you were just saying about the seniors that are so inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the 80-year-old woman that just did the Iron Man a few months ago, and I looked
Yeah.
up, I don't remember her name, but I looked up her story, and she didn't learn to swim until she retired at 59.
Yep.
And she went and took a swimming lesson. And now at 80, she's completing like the Ironman triathlon in, Honolulu, which is phenomenal.
Which I want to bring up because you just said something really good. It's a mindset. And the mindset's everything. Anything you said, mindset
Yes.
towards your finances, it's the same towards your body and your physical health. I work, you know, I'll say to my clients, okay, I want you to lift something heavy and I want you to think, oh, I'm weak. I just can't. And you feel weak. You're like, I'm stressed and I made all these mistakes. And you physically can feel that. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, like you were saying, Kate, give yourself some, plan B. All right. Yeah, it kind of sucked and it's not my favorite that I'm in this position, whatever it might be. But oh my gosh, I am strong. I am smart. I can find help, finance wise or physical wise, whatever it might be. And it's interesting when your brain flips that switch. Not to say it's,
Mm.
when you start to practice that, and it's a practice because not every day, some days I'm like, you know, a little whiny about stuff, but I mean, everybody does. But then I'm like, no, flip that switch, and I'm like, I can learn. I can find a
Mhm.
new route. Let's figure it out. Let's ask what could we do? And the brain says, I don't know. I say, well, what if you did know? What do you think it might be? Well, maybe what if you pretend if you might know? Maybe what do you think you want to do? And so at like you said, at 59, you said she started learning to swim. And at 80, she's doing
Mhm.
Ironman. You I figure I'm 59. I have so much life yet left,
Yes.
right? And it doesn't fit. I'm sorry, it doesn't fit into the typical retirement life.
And that's
And
okay.
I'm
You,
fine with that. I feel really good, with what I'm
well,
learning to do. So,
here's another crazy thing is that we have this idea or we feel this pressure that, if you're smart, rich, or lucky, you're going to retire early. But the truth is, how many people are out there that are, let's say, smart, rich, talented, and lucky, and they are choosing to work into their 70s or beyond? An example I love to give: Mr. Morgan Freeman. I believe he's
mhm.
about 88 years old now, and he's worth about $250 million. Does this 88-year-old man need another penny? Could he possibly spend that? No,
Yeah.
he doesn't need a penny, but he's found something that he's good at. He's in demand. He's more in demand in his 80s than he was. He didn't really get his first major role, I think, until he was in his 50s.
Hmm.
And he loves what he does. He actually has, decades ago, he was in a serious car accident. He has chronic pain. And I think that acting and staying busy with both producing and acting and narration is something that keeps him out of suffering, out of pain, because when you've got pain going on in your body, but then you can keep yourself busy with something that gives you purpose. Now you're not sitting around miserable, like you might be if you were watching television or something,
Yeah. Not
by
that
the
I
way,
don't
which has
mind
been,
some of those days where I just sit and watch, do that little
oh,
splurge. But yeah, having,
guilty. Yeah.
you
Guilty
can,
pleasures are great.
yeah. And
No,
just,
especially if you're currently caregiving, please find
yes, yes.
some
But
guilty pleasures.
yes. And finding like, again, I love that there is an opportunity. Maybe right now could be a very challenging time, and sometimes you don't feel like you can even see above it or outside of it. I started a very significant practice, at which Lauren, one of our other co-hosts, this is her topic, but of a meditative practice where I was at my lowest of lows. I didn't, it was after my husband died, still trying to care for my mom and everything. And I thought, I don't know how worse it could get. I had nothing. And I thought, all right, you need to sit down and you need to figure out your mind. You've got to
Mhm.
figure out your mindset and so that you are not a victim of this direction, but you're choosing this direction. Because I thought I have every excuse in the world right now, instantly losing my spouse and everything
Mhm.
and all the other pressures, and that I could just not get out of bed. I could go ahead and drink and I could go ahead and revert to Tracy, who, used to be the yo-yo dieter and the victim and all of this. And it took a lot of effort. And so if you're in a low place and you're just not seeing it, it's just that aspect of what part of the mind do you want to feed? And it could be hard to get out of it, but I promise you, you do you know, follow Lauren on one of our other hosts,
Yes.
and really take that moment because again, relating back to finances, me sitting in bed being sorry for myself and was not good for my finances, was not good for my family. It wouldn't be good emotionally for my kids. If something happened to me, it wouldn't be, and let myself implode, that would not, I was able to battle through that, but that learning how to rewire your mind on how you see things,
Yes.
very important. And I
There's
just wanted
so
to.
many studies around gratitude. Sean
Yeah.
Acor's done some great work. A lot of people have done great research on
Mhm.
if we can just train our minds, train our brains, and they are easily trainable. Like you do something daily, and Sean Acor's work, he wrote a book
Mhm.
called, oh gosh, the Happiness Advantage. And
Mhm.
they did this research all over the world and with people, young and old and students and doctors and salespeople, and found that it's really simple practices. He has an amazing TED Talk where I think he teaches these 5 things that it's like writing down 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for, writing an extra 20 seconds on, one of the good things that you're grateful for, uh, brief meditation, brief moving your body, and then
Mhm.
like thanking somebody, like a letter or an email or a phone
Mhm.
call to thank. So really, 3 of those things are gratitude related, and they found that even with like 30 days of this, that people were experiencing health and success and happiness, peace of mind. They were experiencing these benefits even years into
Mhm.
the future. So we can train our brains and we must.
Yes. And the other thing was, along with that, was just me being okay letting go of the outcome, knowing that every day I'm going to do that little thing, the gratitude. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do these things, but letting go of the outcome, because like we said earlier, we can do as much as we can, but we
Mhm.
can't control really what's going on around us. But that's been hard for me because I thought I had to control every single little thing, but the stress that put on me was so intense that I was making myself a nervous wreck and sick. So releasing that outcome, and that's a little scary because the brain wants to control. But
Yes.
have gratitude and releasing the outcome now. And I'm definitely not who I was in '06 when I was diagnosed
Yeah,
pre-diabetic. I'm definitely not the same person
absolutely.
before Dave passed. I'm not the same person when he passed. And that's the other thing. I can rebuild myself and my life anytime I choose to. And
Yes.
so, if we can remember that, I think that can help.
Yes, and and if somebody's listening to this, and if you don't know Tracy, her husband also passed
Yeah.
just very unexpectedly a few
Yeah.
years ago. So that's been all in this mix. And
Yeah.
gratitude. And what I'm also hearing is that we can step towards trust, even if we're not really sure how to trust or how things are going to turn
Mhm.
out, but releasing that control does put us into, like, we can have a vision even if we're not sure exactly how, but we can have a vision that things are going to work out.
Yeah.
Tracy, it's been a delight having you. Tell people where they can find you. And by the way, we will definitely have Tracy's information in the show notes. If you're listening to this, if you're new to us, please subscribe to the Vivatude channel. You can find us on Apple Podcasts as well as YouTube. And we've got 4 of us wonderful co hosts here. And Tracy, where do we find you?
Yes. So my website is my name. It's just tracycromwell.com, TracyCromwell.com. You can find my site there and learn a bit more about my story. And I do offer a complimentary, just a take care of you session that I would be happy to offer to your listeners, Kate. our listeners. And you
Wonderful.
can find that link on my website. And you can find me here on Vivatude. So, yes.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Mhm.
If you need and want support, especially in the area of fitness and in health, reach
Mhm.
out to Tracy. Take her up on that. Thanks for listening to us here on Vivatude.
Thanks for listening to Vivatude. 4 hosts, 1 each week. We help you revivitude your next chapter because purpose, passion, and prosperity isn't out there. They're already within you. Brighter, bolder, truer. Vivatude.